Board. And very excited today because we have two really amazing people joining the conversation. Hap Klopp, the founder of North Face, and Ali Elnaamani, the founder of allgram, who are really ambitious entrepreneurs who've done some amazing things, and we can kind of pick their brain a little bit. So yeah, gonna give this another 30 seconds or so, and then we'll really kind of kick things off. So hang tight. Gonna let the last stragglers roll in. I know it's the day after Halloween. I'm sure some people had a late night last night. But I guess that's what happens when you work with an international audience, an international team, right? So give another 30 seconds or so here. Grab a couple sips of your coffee if it's early for you. All right, everyone. Well, let's go for it. So my name's Dylan Welch. I'm the founder of green.org, the Green Summits, and Green Expeditions. So my goal with this webinar is to kind of share what we've learned this past year in ways that you can apply it to your life and your business. So real quick, what green.org is, what we're doing. Green.org is a media channel, a newsletter, social media channel, podcast, where we basically highlight leaders in business, tech, finance, sustainability. We kind of pick their brains of what's worked for them in terms of business success, but also how they've kind of managed to live more sustainably and build sustainable aspects into their lives. So we're also founders of the Green Summits, which are international events where we bring together some of the most interesting, exciting leaders and innovators that we've featured on green.org, put them up on stage, and they share in about a 15-minute TED Talk style presentation what they've been working on and action items for the audience of how the audience can get involved and live more sustainably as well. And then we also have our Green Expeditions, which are 12-day trips to areas that are most affected by climate change. We do hands-on research, we work with the locals, and our goal is to do kind of a fun, adventurous trip where we can also give back to the communities most affected by climate change. So we've got our Green Summit coming up in London. We just wrapped our New York event and our San Diego event. Really excited for things we've got coming up and the year we've had. So that is what green.org is. I've got some notes I'm going to look down. Right now, we're living in a pretty crazy time. There's a lot of, things happening in the current geopolitics. There's a climate crisis going on. Every time you go onto the media, the news, it's sad news, negative news, scary news. And really our goal with green.org is to put positive information out there. It's really easy to, go on whatever site you like to look at or scroll through social media and just feel like sort of this immense doom is happening. But in reality, there's a lot of really amazing people doing good things. And so our goal is to just sort of be that spotlight of highlighting people that are doing those good things. One thing that I've learned of trying to do this is that people really want and need that positive information. They need something to look forward to. They need something that can brighten up their day a little bit. And so I encourage you guys who are on this, who are business owners, who have social media, really go out there and just share positive information. One, people want it, whether that's just a positive news story, positive thing that a business that you're working with has done, or something positive that you've done in your life. People want to see that. They want to support that. They want to help you with that. So I would just encourage you to be a little bit more mindful of, what you're doing online and how you can share that positive information versus that negative information. If you need any help or advice or information, green.org is happy to help you with that. We're always trying to share positive stuff. So you can go there for news stories or people doing good things. Or if you need any advice on how to share, what you're working on or what your business is doing, feel free to reach out anytime. So with green.org and with the Green Summits, we've really have had two goals. So one is to share information about how you as individuals can live more sustainably. And then two, highlight leaders, businesses, and organizations that are also doing positive things so that we as a community can support them and help them grow. So on the first aspect, the green.org team put together an ebook that just launched. It's called 114 Ways to Live Sustainably. So if you're on this or you're listening to this as a podcast, email me and we're going to send that out to everyone for free. And basically what we did over the past year, we've interviewed thousands of leaders in sustainability and business, tech, finance. We've had somewhere in the range of 30 to 40 speakers at the Green Summits. And we kind of compiled all the information that they shared and made it a very easy to-do list, follow along ebook where you can live more sustainably. We ordered it in basically the simplest ways and the least expensive ways, free ways, all the way up to, the more complicated ways. And that way you can find something that resonates with you, little day-to-day things. So one, how we can all live a little bit more sustainably every day. Two, how we can help these businesses and organizations and entrepreneurs and leaders be more sustainable and more successful in their businesses and their careers. So one, we have that ebook for you. Email me, dylan@dylanwelch.com, and we're going to send that to you for free. And then two, I'm going to share 5 things that nearly every one of these leaders had in common in their lives that they applied to their businesses, to their personal lives, their social lives, that helped them, one, live more sustainably, 2, grow their businesses, and 3, just find more happiness in their life as well. Because I think those 3 things really combine together. And when they can all work together, that's where we see the most success. So the first one is all of these leaders would invest in themselves. So if they have some extra money at the end of the year, they would either, sign up for a course, they would invest in their business, they would hire people to bring on their team to outsource some of that work so they can focus on more goals. So basically, these people are always investing in themselves, no matter if they're 21-year-old entrepreneurs or 85-year-old entrepreneurs. They're always trying to grow, be better. So at the end of the day, try to think about, how can you invest in yourself and what areas of your life can you improve to get smarter, to educate yourself, to build, to grow your business. Almost all of them said that's been a huge key to their success. 2, they've really invested and focused on their health and fitness. So obviously, a lot of business owners, they're busy. It's hard for them to, find time out of their day to spend time with their family, to get a workout in. But a lot of these really high achieving people took time out of their day to make sure they got some yoga in, a stretch in. They would, turn off their computers, put away their phones, and take some time to hang out with their family. And a lot of these people said that during these moments of, getting a workout in, a jog in, hanging out with their kids, is when they actually had some of their most creative breakthroughs for their businesses. They were able to kind of step away from the minutia of their careers and their work lives, think bigger picture. And it's oftentimes in those moments where they had some of their best ideas. So invest in yourself, focus on your health and fitness. Those 2 things will really pay off. 3, nearly every one of these people found some sort of bigger goal in their life that they wanted to work on and be a part of. So they all identified a big problem beyond just themselves and latched onto that as a way to kind of give them inspiration and hope and a reason to get out of bed in the morning. So hopefully, you guys can think and find some sort of big problem that we're facing and try to be a small part of the solution. So investing in yourselves, focusing on your health and fitness, finding that big picture problem and trying to be a part of the solution. And number 4, all of these people would take big chances. They would find those opportunities where it made them nervous, whether that's public speaking, whether that's doing something for their business, whether that's signing up and going to a new gym that they've been wanting to for a while. They would seek out these opportunities and experiences to kind of get that feeling in their gut where they would get nervous and they would jump into it full force. So I encourage you, as we wrap up 2023, go into 2024, try to seek out those scary moments and go into it full force. It's oftentimes in those moments when they found that and they went for it, that these people that we'd speak with had some of their biggest breakthrough and growth moments. So those are a couple things, that we kind of took away. One, we'll send out that PDF, 114 ways to live more sustainably, but also those ways that nearly every single one of these high achievers found success and continue to find success in their lives. So enough about me. My goal with green.org is to really highlight leaders and share their stories. So I'm going to bring on two people today who have done some amazing things. Hap Klopp and Ali Elnaamani, two amazing founders who are doing exciting things. So let me bring them on. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to promote you guys to panelists. So Ali and Hap, I'll give you guys a brief introduction, but then I'll let you kind of do your thing. So Ali was a speaker at our New York City Green Summit. It was amazing meeting Ali there, and just learning, what he's done in his career and his life has been really inspirational. He's founded and starting and launching a business that I'm really excited to learn more about, that he really built in an important sustainable aspect to it. And then we have Hap Klopp, the founder of North Face, one of the most well-known brands in the entire world. I've traveled a good amount this past year, all through South America, and every time I'd see a North Face hat, sweater, sleeping bag, I'd be like, I know the guy who founded that. So I'm very honored and appreciative of both of you guys being here today. So Hap, can you hear me and talk okay?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you. And Ali, are you good to go?
Yes, I am.
All right. So, well, first off, thank you guys for being here. Let's start off with you, Ali. Do you want to share anything, kick off any words?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, it's a privilege to be sharing the stage with the one and only Mr. Klopp. Your journey in creating one of the most renowned companies in the world has not only reshaped the way we experience the outdoors, but it actually set a benchmark for entrepreneurship, leadership, and innovation. So it's truly a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you, Ali.
Yeah, Hap, you have anything you want to kind of kick off with?
Well, let's get after it. That's the most exciting thing.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll kind of kick it off. Hap, let's start with you. So just share a little bit about how you started North Face.
Well, it's a lengthy story, so interrupt me when it drags on too long.
Gotcha.
The reality is that I had a very idiosyncratic upbringing. When I was in grade school, they had me only go to school in the morning because I was so disruptive. And so they had me in the afternoons doing things outside the classroom, reading things like The Transcendentalist, where I came across a comment by Thoreau, which is in wilderness is a preservation of the earth. I lived in an area called Spokane, Washington, where that's what you did every weekend. And so I was going out and I really related to that. And I came to the conclusion that that was how people should live. And so that was in the back of my mind. And then I worked at all sorts of laboring jobs because I wanted to learn how things were. And I learned a lot about individuals, and I learned a lot about how important it was to have diversity. And I learned that the wilderness was good, and all those things were happening. And I ended up running a family company when my father died while I was in school. And so I learned a little bit about running a business. So all of that was my background. I sold the business because it didn't have any of those things that I thought were vital. It didn't have diversity, it didn't have triple bottom line, it didn't have a commitment to preserving nature. And so I then was looking around. I thought somebody'd offer me a job to start a business or run their business because of my fantastic background, of which nobody offered that. And so I had an interview with Procter & Gamble, And I thought, okay, I'll do what all entrepreneurs do. I'll work for somebody else and have a side hustle, and I will do that. I didn't feel very good about that because I always loved being 120% in on everything I did, and I wasn't seeing many of the things in the world which represented what I wanted. And this interview with Procter and Gamble went the wrong way. You know, the old joke about Cincinnati, where their headquarters is, if I die, I want to die in Cincinnati because everything happens 2 years later there. Well, I got there. It was that environment. 8 hours of interview, asking questions about me and telling me things. And the first thing they said is your name Kenneth or is it Hap? And I said, it could be either one. Most of my friends call me Hap. And they said, well, when you work here, it'll be Kenneth because nicknames don't give you the gravitas to go ahead. So I'm feeling uncomfortable. I don't see any of the diversity I want. And the next question is, are you going to wear a white tie or a white shirt and a tie? There's no correlation between productivity and that, and just get further and further into this. And then they ask a searching question, which is, if you were to join our organization, where do you expect to be in 5 years? And knowing I'm out of there at this time, I said, well, if I were to join Procter & Gamble, I expect to be president in 5 years. That means passing you in 5 minutes, but that doesn't mean any big deal to me. The reality is, it was a good interview. They told me what the environment was like. I didn't like that environment. And what I concluded was, if you can't work for anybody else and you don't like the ideas you have, what you need to do is start your own business. And so I started the North Face because I'd spent a long time in the outdoors. We had this overriding goal. I wanted to change the world because it was as screwed up then. That was the 60s as it is right now. And what I knew is, if we could send people deep into the wilderness, they would come back better stewards of the earth. And I knew in my own world that if you could bring a triple bottom line mentality into the company, if you could have a goal of environment in the company, if you could have quality products and we had a lifelong warranty, that was great. Because if you had a product fail in the wilderness, your life depended on it. But more importantly, or equally as importantly, a product that never fails never goes into the landfill. So I figured I could start a company around that. Didn't know how large it was going to be, but I believed not in making the largest company, or the best company, and the company predicated on that. And this was a long time ago. And a lot of those things were very idiosyncratic. Had people criticize us, they're calling us tree huggers and granola lovers and whatever. That didn't trouble us a lot because we were on a mission. We were on a mission. We thought you could build a company that really evolved that way. We did. It grew to be much larger than I ever anticipated. I'm not involved with it right now, although I talk with them, and I did last week, periodically giving out the Hap Klopp Award for the best employee or whatever. But the reality is the DNA is still there. We focused on the DNA. That's what the brand was all about. And the idea was to build an iconic brand predicated on 3 key words: disruption, quality, and triple bottom line, and to be able to hold to that. And then over time, we were lucky enough that the world sort of came to us. And many of the ideas which I put forth at the outset actually are ideas that I think now are the pillars of some very great businesses.
Amazing. And look at it now, one of the biggest brands on the planet. Congratulations on the success and sort of the vision that you had of not falling into the corporate trap, which you knew wasn't you, and went out and made it happen. First off, I appreciate you being here. I always love chatting with you. You're a huge inspiration to me, and just want to thank you for, everything that you've done for the planet. Like I said, this past year I went down to Patagonia, the tip of South America, and seeing people wear North Face was just a really cool thing. And I'm sure when you see that too, it's the same thing. So, Hap, thank you for being here. I want to bring it over to Ali. So I'm excited because we have two very kind of different parts of business right now. Hap, who's built a huge business, and Ali, who is doing some really amazing things and about to launch a new business. And I've been fortunate enough to kind of get a peek behind the scenes, and I can't wait, for Ali to share everything that's going on. So Ali, thank you for being here as well. Can you share a little bit about your background and what's going on with allgram?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Dylan. It's always a pleasure to connect with you. So my background is in cyber and information security. I've always been an intrapreneur, and for those who don't know, an entrepreneur is being an entrepreneur, but within an actual corporation that supports startup initiatives. So I've always really had the pleasure of doing that. But to dive into what we're doing here with allgram, I'll start with the people aspect first, and then I'll dive into the solution itself, if you don't mind. Every startup requires two essential ingredients to turn their vision into a business. You've got to have the right talent and also the necessary funds for scalability. In our case, we are fortunate to have some of the brightest minds on our team. They've got the passion and the dedication to drive essentially our success and anything they want to accomplish. And equally important is our investor, who's had not only provided the financial support, but also has been a mentor and a champion since day one. And his commitment and willingness to dive deep into the details when necessary, it's just been a pleasure to work with. Now, like many startups, allgram was born out of a common frustration we all experience on a daily basis. This frustration revolves around the uncertainty regarding the fate of our terabytes and terabytes of communication data. We don't know who has access to it or how it's being exploited for targeted advertisements and various other purposes, all while benefiting corporations and businesses financially. So our mission was clear: addressing the privacy and security concerns that affect our daily lives. Now, as we delve deeper into this challenge, we also uncovered a significant environmental opportunity where we can completely get rid of thousands of servers and data centers out there. And to tackle these critical issues, we initially focused on the centralization within the communication systems. We then soon realized that by decentralizing communication, allowing devices to interact directly without the need for any intermediary servers to store any data or facilitate any calls, we can not only resolve the privacy and security challenges, but also make a substantial positive impact on the environment. So by enabling users to host and manage their own data on their devices directly, we can essentially reduce the need for vast numbers of servers and data centers, and essentially contributing to the sustainable environment and the future.
Yeah, amazing. And so if you're interested, Ali was the last guest on my podcast where we really dive a lot more into the details of sort of the aspects of allgram. And just for the sake of time today, we won't get too deep into that, but I really encourage you to listen to that podcast. It's really interesting. Ali shares some really amazing information. Hap has also been on the podcast where we really talk a lot more in detail about, you know, kind of the starting of the North Face and like his business aspirations and how it grew. But for today's kind of sake of, you know, the webinar, I really want to focus kind of on like how you guys built in sort of the aspect of sustainability, because Hap, when you founded the North Face, you mentioned that wasn't really a big thing that people cared about. So what was sort of the reasoning and the driving force behind building in that sustainable aspect to a successful business?
Well, as I was saying earlier, it was at the heart of what we were trying to do. Our goal in terms of that business was taking people deep into the wilderness to come back. And what we did was provide much lighter weight gear at the outset, equipment, sleeping bags, tents, and packs, and not long after that, apparel that was much lighter than anybody had. And so people would, instead of going 200 feet into the wilderness, would go miles, and women could join the activity because it wasn't a beast of burden act any longer. And what we believed at our heart was that the world was going to be in a better place. As I said, with the transcendentalists in the wilderness is the preservation of the earth. We believed if we could expose people to that, they were going to come back and be better stewards of the earth, and they would take care of it, and the protection of the wilderness, which we were big on, would happen, and that people would be positive and optimistic. And as you said at the outset of the show, if you read news now, it's pretty negative. But I can tell you, if you go out hiking, biking, skiing, whatever, you're not thinking about those things, and you come back refreshed. And that is what we were trying to do. And so we had that mission, which we installed at the beginning, that we wanted to change the world. That sounds pretty remote, but if you do it one at a time, it's not so remote, it's easily done. And so we just constantly would come back to it. And our biggest challenge was to ensure that everybody on the team was speaking with one voice. That's how you build a brand. Brands are like coral. They grow slowly, imperceptibly changing, but if they have rules and guidelines, they get bigger and bigger, more complex, more beautiful, and unlike anything else out there. Ours was all built around those three words of disruption, quality, triple bottom line. And to do that, every 2 years, we would have a long-range planning process where everybody would come in, because we were doubling every single year. So we're adding lots of people. And what our biggest concern internally was that we would have people on the team that had a different view, or they would try to take us in a different direction. So we had to recalibrate, level set every couple of years in doing that. But we had that idea, and the idea was make that what your brand stands for, articulate that, come up with storytelling that would be remembered so that those ideas would stand. You know, a lot of companies say, I have a mission statement, but nobody in the company can remember what the mission statement is, or this is, you know, what our objectives are. And about the only objectives that are clearly remembered are this is a sales goal or the profit goal or cash flow goal that you have. What we've tried to do is make these qualitative things memorable. And we did that by using storytelling around those three words.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we've talked about this in the past, but that wasn't really a common thing, you know, when you started the North Face. Now a lot of companies are trying to do that. And honestly, you really sort of were one of the first companies that built that. You know, it's really amazing to kind of think the conversation we're having right now, you know, 20, 30 years down the line, the businesses that the people here are listening are growing could change, you know, the future. So thank you for paving the way and doing that. I'm excited to have both of you on because you're both in very different stages of business, and have had different sort of careers, but both with very similar goals to basically build huge, successful businesses, profitable businesses that change people's lives and have sort of a positive aspect to them. So Ali, same question to you. How have you, you know, why did you decide to sort of build in that sustainable aspect to allgram?
Well, Hap's answer was certainly inspirational, but I mean, we all have the collective responsibility to support our planet, and it's for our children, for their generation, and all generations to come, right? And in addition to the ethical responsibility, I'll give maybe potentially a different twist to this answer. And in addition to the innovative aspect, in addition to attracting new talent, especially this generation and future generations, sustainability actually sets your business apart from competitors today. It tends to attract environmentally conscious customers and kind of gives you an edge in the market. And on top of that, there is the long-term viability aspect that is extremely important. And I think the businesses that are not integrating any sustainability goals into their business are gonna really feel this and suffer the consequences in the future, because as resources become scarcer and the environmental challenges continue to persist and continue to grow, businesses that are not sustainable are not likely to be around, and the ones that are sustainable are more likely to endure and thrive in the long term. So this is also a different twist that we see it from a business and an impact, and I'm actually glad that it's driving the business aspect and thinking about how we could really push organizations that are not thinking about it.
So one thing we do at green.org is really try to keep sort of politics out of what we're talking about. And I've talked to people on all aspects in all sort of areas of the political spectrum. And there's two things that I've noticed nearly everyone can agree upon. One, we all want to, make money. We all want to pay our bills. We all want to support our families. And we all want, a clean, safe environment for our future. And unfortunately, some of this has been politicized. But what I like about what you guys are doing is you've done both. You've built successful billion-dollar businesses. Ali, yours will be there. I have no question about that. Again, kind of two different times in the businesses, which I'm glad you're here to talk about. But I think that's two things that, we can all really agree on is important. So again, I want to thank you guys. One last thing, we really try to emphasize and highlight small businesses, entrepreneurs, people who are, going above and beyond, people who are taking those chances because, America is built on small businesses and eventually growing into big businesses. So Ali, question for you, what advice do you have for the entrepreneurs who are listening to this, or maybe someone who has a 9-to-5 career job, but wants to kind of get into eventually starting their own business? What's one sort of small piece of advice that someone can take away from this?
Certainly, one valuable piece of advice I'd like to share with the group here is to embrace adaptability and continuous learning as core principles of your journey. The business landscape is dynamic and ever-changing, and the ability to adapt and evolve is key to your long-term success. So in this rapidly evolving business world, the adaptability and the ability to also adapt and learn continuously will be your most valuable asset.
And oh, there we go. Sorry, I froze there for a second. Hap, same question to you. What's one piece of advice that you can share with the audience today, watching, listening, tuning in, for the, same thing, the entrepreneurs who are starting their business, or the people who are, as you were working sort of that career job, but eventually want to get into building their own business? What's one sort of takeaway item that you'd like to share?
The key thing is to look at what the future is going to be about and get in front of that. There's the old story about the two ways to lead a parade. One is to create a parade. Another one is to find a parade and step in front of it. I say find the parade and step in front of it. And that parade is what is called ESG, environment, sustainability, and governance. The last couple of decades, maybe 50 years, have been based on price, cost, offshoring to have lowest cost, but not looking at all of the all-up costs associated with it, environmental, human rights, or whatever. Amazon is about how you could do something very cheaply, and people can do price searching. What I see is that is changing. The new generation coming up, in particular, is very interested in it. The tools we now have in terms of transparency, in terms of blockchain and availability, now consumers can see the all-up cost of the decisions that they make. And what I can see in the marketplace, and I said particularly driven by the younger generation coming into the marketplace, the one who is spending, is if you're aligned with good environmental practice, a good sustainability practice, good governance practices, that will build your business, and that will give you an unfair advantage over all of the traditional companies.
Amazing. Well, for the sake of brevity, I know you guys are busy, the attendees, it's a Wednesday morning, at least if you're on the West Coast. So we could talk all day about this. We might even host another webinar, bring these guys back. But again, I encourage you to listen to the podcast that Ali was on, where he really dives a lot more into the details of allgram. Like I said, I've had a chance to get a sneak peek. I'm really excited for it to go live and launch. Obviously the North Face has done amazing things for the planet. So I want to thank both Ali and Hap for being here. Last, Ali, do you have any just takeaway of how us as a green.org community can support you and support allgram?
Absolutely. We all share the collective responsibility to support each other in safeguarding our planet. And I thank you, Dylan, for bringing us on this and for for driving this this initiative. At allgram, we're looking to build a community, so please get engaged. Visit our website, allgram.com. Spread the word, give us your feedback. We always want feedback, and sign up for an early beta version that will be released for the first 1,000 users in December. So again, an honor to be here with an iconic figure such as Mr. Klopp, and looking forward to where we take it from here.
Amazing. So we will we'll send kind of a follow-up email to everybody with the link to allgram.com. You can be one of the first 1,000 people to test out the business. And Hap, how about you? Any ways that we can support you, or any last takeaways for the day?
Sure. I'm advising two companies that are early stage, but growing dramatically, and they're doing some great things. If you follow those companies, provide networks, contacts for it, it'd be great. One is a company called Spora Biotech. It's located in Santiago, Chile. It is trying to replace a number of products by using mycelium, which is the root structure of mushrooms. Leather is the first product that they're replacing. They actually go in on expeditions to the Amazon, Patagonia, and places like that to find new species. They protect the environment there. They protect the indigenous culture, and coming up with materials they take to a lab and then make those into products that replace environmentally destructive products. So that's Spora Biotech. The other one is a company which is out of Manchester and Dubai, and it is doing preemptive healthcare, doing IV drip therapy, and doing genetic testing. The cost of healthcare is not sustainable. It's, I believe, about 17.9% of the GDP in the US, about 9% in Europe. But the reason is that we're dealing with healthcare at the end when there are problems. Preemptive healthcare is how you reduce that cost and allow people to live better lives. So I'm working with both of those companies. Any connections, any contacts, any ideas are always great. Would love to hear them, but those companies will be the North Faces of the future when you come to this podcast 10 years from now.
All right, we'll share. I'll get their websites and share both of those as well. Hap, always a pleasure talking to you. I appreciate, everything you've done, everything you're doing, taking time out of your day to be here. Ali, same thing. It's always a pleasure. Highly recommend listening to previous podcasts with Ali and Hap that I've had on the show. I know we're keeping this quick today, so if you want to dive a little bit more into what, kind of they've done, their stories, what they're working on, their sort of vision for the future, highly recommend going to check them out. When I send a follow-up email to everybody, I'm going to list Ali's website and Hap's 2 websites if you want to support them. And then really, as we kind of wrap this up today, I just want to thank you guys for being here. I want to thank you for taking some time, to either further your education, trying to be more sustainable, helping the planet. We have a couple things coming up, so always feel free to check out green.org. We're always interviewing leaders like Hap, like Ali, sharing their stories via podcast, written articles, social media posts, our newsletter that goes out. And then we have our Green Summit coming up in London on December 8th. If you happen to be in London and would want to join one of the events, feel free to check it out. We would love to see you there. They're always great in-person events where you can really meet and connect live in person, which I think is very important. And then last, we have 3 green expeditions coming up in 2024, Patagonia, the Amazon, and an ocean expedition where we're bringing 10 people, 12-day trip. We're getting hands-on research experience, helping the locals, building and supporting those communities. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. Like I said, it's early on the West Coast. If you're on the East Coast, enjoy the rest of your day. If you're out in London or Europe, have a great evening. My goal is to build a community of people who want to succeed in their businesses and their careers, but also do something positive for the planet at the same time. So any way I can ever support any of you guys, whether that's making connections, introductions, sharing what you're working on with our audience at green.org, please reach out to me anytime, dylan@dylanwelch.com. If you're interested in getting the ebook we just released, 114 Ways to Live More Sustainably, It's free for anyone who tuned in or is listening to the post release of this. Email me as well. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, week, year, and any way we can support you to wrap things up or to kick off 2024, please let me know. So thank you again. And I'm Dylan, and I hope to talk to you guys soon. On that note, going to give it another 10, 15 seconds here, and we'll wrap it up. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dylan. Thank you, Ellie. Nice to hear your story, Ellie.
Thank you, guys.
Likewise, thank you.